Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Minecraft Mythbusting here in the End Dimension, because we have travelled over to an End City to see the Shulker in its natural habitat. Now in this episode we're going to be doing all sorts of tests and asking questions of this new mob that was added in 1.9, and some of these tests are things that you've seen before in Mythbusting. For example, we will be finding out if a end dragon or a wither chooses to attack the Shulker, and the first test that we're going to do is to strike it with lightning. And I know what you're thinking, lightning doesn't strike in the End Dimension. I know, but it is technically possible to get one of these Shulkers back to the Overworld, and for example, if you strike a villager with lightning, it'll turn into a witch. So let's go over to the Mythbusting world, strike one of these Shulkers with lightning, and find out what happens. I've got a feeling that this is going to be anticlimactic. Let's bring in the Shulker, let's strike it with lightning, and what happens? It teleports away. Now I've actually done this test a few times, and what's interesting is that it teleports every single time, as opposed to other forms of damage the Shulker can take. It doesn't always choose to teleport away. Now this is the area where we tested the iron golems in a previous episode, so now what we're going to do is summon an iron golem in here, and then we'll bring in a Shulker and see what the iron golem does. It might attack it, it might not, I just don't know. Oh, and look at that! There you go, and it looked like the Shulker was going to attack it back as well. Okay, 4 Shulkers, 1 iron golem. He's going to attack one of them, right? Or is he just going to stand there this time? There he goes, he's attacking one of them, and they're attacking him as well. And look at that guy go! He's floating up into the sky. That is amazing. So these guys just keep going up and up, and the highest that I've seen them get to about is 30 blocks from this platform right here. After a certain range, the Shulkers do actually stop attacking it. But there you go. Very interesting stuff, and quite hilarious as well. And this simple test right here shows us that the Shulker is neutral to the Iron Golem, because it's separated. The Iron Golem isn't able to attack it. And when it does go and attack the Shulker, that's when it's going to respond and attack back. Well, they say that there is no such thing as a peaceful wither, and there you go, he's got nothing to pick on, so he's going to pick on the environment and blow up some blocks. But let's spawn a Shulker in front of him, and immediately this guy goes for it. He attacks the Shulker, and the Shulker is trying to attack the wither back. This is fascinating. You may see it when the dragon takes off, but all of the Shulkers there took damage, and I've seen that happen a couple of times now. But they never strike back at the Ender Dragon, so the Ender Dragon can do damage to them, but they're not going to fight back. So I'd made a big mistake. I was playing in peaceful mode, and now that we're in hard difficulty, you can see that the Shulkers do attempt to attack the Ender Dragon after they've received damage from it. Now I've seen some of these little Shulker bullets successfully hit the Ender Dragon, and it doesn't get the levitation effect. It would appear to be immune from it. So here's a classic test from a previous episode. We once went through all the mobs in the game and tried the fishing rod, the lead, and the name tag on all of them. So let's start off with the fishing rod. Now what you're going to see is that the fishing rod attaches itself to the Shulker, but when you pull it back nothing happens. And you can see this because it always sort of snaps to the very middle of the Shulker, like that, where the line goes. So it definitely attaches to it, but nothing happens when you pull back the fishing rod. Now the lead, you can right click all that you want here, but nothing ever happens. So the lead doesn't work on the Shulker. And if we go for the name tag, we got the dinner bone one right here, which will turn the mob upside down. And you can clearly see straight away that it's been turned upside down, and it's able to open its shell a little bit as well, which is fascinating. Now this comes off the ground a little bit, and I'm kind of curious here because that one is the same height as a block, whereas this one right here finds itself a little bit higher when it's upside down, and also its shell gets pushed into the block a little bit, as you saw there. And our next question is, can a Shulker drown in water? Well, it's a good thing I got this giant water tank floating around in the Mythbusting world. I went underneath and inside the tank trying to spawn a Shulker, and it teleported out straight away. So its interaction with water is that it causes it to teleport. So if we put a Shulker down on the top, he's absolutely fine. We put some water next to him. As soon as it flows, the Shulker is going to teleport away down on this side. And it's going to be the same thing with lava as well. So let's put down some lava next to it, wait for it to flow, and the Shulker teleports away. But an interesting thing to point out with the lava is that it doesn't set the Shulker on fire. One of the things I like most about this Mythbusting series is when we learn interesting things, and we're about to learn something very interesting. Let's get a little bit of fire, let's spawn the Shulker onto the fire, and it teleports away. Now it's not on fire, as you can see right here, and I believe that Shulkers can't actually be set on fire. Now I've got a fire aspect sword right here and a flame bow, so we're going to strike it when its shell's open. It's probably going to be stubborn. Let's spawn a few more there. Oh, there we go, bam. And again, and you can see that they don't get set on fire. Now let's try it with the bow. So one of you open up, bam, there you go. Takes damage but doesn't get set on fire, which is fascinating stuff. So we're going to do one last test here. We're going to put a Shulker down in the middle. I'm going to give it a fire resistance potion like this. So now it's resistant to fire damage, even though we've seen it can't be set on fire. And when we put the lava bucket next to it, it still decides it wants to teleport away. And I'm guessing that's because the Shulker isn't a block, it is in fact an entity, and so the lava is going to flow where the entity is, and that's what causes it to move. But as we've just learned, Shulkers can't be set on fire. Have no fear, have no fear. I know I'm in survival mode, but this Shulker won't attack me because I have chugged down an invisibility potion, and we can get within 2 blocks of the Shulker. Now I've stood here for quite some time, and whenever I go over the line into the white area, that's when this guy is able to spot me. But it doesn't always happen straight away. Luckily, because we're recording, of course it's going to happen straight away. And there you go. So, with an invisibility potion, you can get within 2 blocks of the Shulker, and it won't detect you. So let's take it back to enchantments, because a moment ago we learned that fire aspect won't work on the Shulker because it can't be set on fire. Now there's also the punch 2 bow and the knockback 2 sword. Of course, when it's closed it's going to pop the arrow back, and neither of these will do any form of knockback damage to the Shulker, as you can see right there. So as well as those enchantments, I thought I'd check out Smite and Sharpness as well. And Sharpness is the one to use. It looks like Smite does nothing at all, and I have tested this properly. The way I can show you though is by whacking this guy. You can see just the 1 heart popped up there. If we use Sharpness on the sword, because this one is Smite and this one is Sharpness, you'll see all of the extra particle effects from the Sharpness effect, which is being applied to the Shulker. So Sharpness works on the Shulker, but no other enchantments do. So we're now returning to the Iron Golem experiment, because I have 2 more questions and I realised that they'd sort of both been answered earlier. I want to know if a Shulker can attack another Shulker and if it will make that Shulker fly up. The answer is yes and then no. So let's spawn in an Iron Golem, because it's quite likely when they attack the Iron Golem they're also going to attack each other as well. As you saw right there, that one just got hit by this one, so now it's going to strike back. So that's evidence that the Shulkers can be aggressive at each other, but the levitation effect isn't going to work on the Shulker. So here's another fascinating question which came from Twitter. For those of you that follow me on Twitter, I do occasionally ask for you guys to tweet me questions you want to see in myth-busting episodes, and one of those was, can you use the levitation effect to go flying with the elytra? And the answer is, if you count down carefully, bam, tap spacebar, yes you can. And if you go high up enough, you can go quite far as well. And I got a tip for you. If you saw the episode about shields, you'll know that you're able to block the Shulker's projectile and you won't take any damage. You also won't get the levitation effect as well. But another cool thing, you can actually punch these with your fist to destroy them, as you saw right there. And another thing to mention is, yes, Shulkers can get inside of boats, and when they're in the boat they won't actually attack the player when they're in survival mode. And that is going to be it for this episode of Mythbusting. Do hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, leave a like on this video. As always, thank you so much for your support, and if you'd like to know how you can use Shulkers and boats to get them to the overworld, then check out the video on your screen. But anyway, that is it from me. If you've got a myth you want busting, a question to ask, leave it in the comment box down below. And I will see you in the next episode. So thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye. To infinity and beyond.